At that point, you basically had become the head of the family because your father was not there, the oldest brother was in Italy studying, and you became responsible for the family in a sense.
It was, I must say, it was easy and it was difficult at the same time. It was not difficult to work really because, listen, coming from a farm,
Everything was easy.
Well, when especially summertime, I was used to work 7-8 hours a day, okay, helping my father. So work was not the problem. The problem was really to suddenly, yes, you were responsible of these kids, you know, especially the boys. There were 3 boys, one after another, 13. 10 and 8.
Family, and so when you paid the taxes, what happened?
Well, I declared, you know, dependence. I depended. I was feeding my family.
And okay. What happened? What happened? The IRS?
So
did the IRS call you?
So IRS, they called me. You know, I was trying to explain to the guy what I did. And I said, you know, on a Friday night when I go home, I give the check to my mother. I give the check to my mother. And he wanted to know how much my mother gave me back for spending money. And I said, frankly, you know, I take my lunch, coffee, everything, and I don't have a car. I said, my spending money is this, you know, I go to school at night.
But you were, in fact, the head of the family.
But I was not cheating, okay?
Yeah.
And I really, at the third time, I was very upset. I said, you made me lose another day of work over here. I said, if you want, I don't give the money to my mother. We put the family on welfare, and you take care of them. Today, looking back, I think that it's a culture clash. Because that was not normal. It was not the normal for a 20-year-old, 21-year-old.
Unmarried.
Young man.
But I think technically, if you could prove that you were the head of the family, you can contribute.
That didn't bother me, working in a factory. But,
was your mother working?
No. It was difficult for her to take care of
I think what was admirable is that 2 or 3 years later, you were able to buy a house.
3 years later.
Because you were living in a room, in a 1-bedroom apartment, basically. You
within 3 years, we bought the other next street, and we bought a building, 5-apartment building. So it was for my father especially. This was a big achievement because the person that had the biggest problem was my father. The poor man came over here when he was 56, Vito. Certainly
he had never been here before.
He never had been here.
So how did he take it?
He didn't speak English. Well, how did he take? He had always worked in his own property, on his own land.
In fact, there was on the house it says the property of the Mignones.
That's what was not unusual, as you know very well, in Italy. Because until recently, people lived in the same house for generations, and the property was given to children after generation. And so, yes, you find chiseled the many.
He was proud. He even said at one point, the Mignones never worked for other people and never had any debt.
That's correct. Those are. He was. So yes, a proud man from that point of view.
So he resented in a way that he in America.
Yeah, for him it was not really a good change. At a certain point, he wanted to go back.
He did.
He wanted back. It is, and I talked about this in the book. It was a terrible evening when he came home. He said, working in that factory, he says, I cannot take this. And so we had the hope, you know, for that he would arrive, you know, and the family would be united again. And he had this problem of a clash, you know, and so. We found, actually my aunt found him another job for Mount Vernon Hospital, which is very meaningful to us. Mount Vernon Hospital, which is very close over there, and to be a gardener.
So he liked
So,
that. He was
okay,
in his
and that
milieu.
really changed everything. You know?
You said that the 60s and the 70s were truly special time to be in America.
This
In
story,
context.
in the social and historical context of that period, the 60s.
That's the structure.
And I consider the 60s really the most transforming years of the 20th century.
In the book,
social transformation,
you're very positive. Yet, those were the times when we had the Vietnam War, civil unrest.
Yes, but Vito, remember that
The
yes,
Cold War
more than
with
that, more than that,
Cuba.
was also a violent period.
It was a violent period.
You know, the death of JFK, Robert Kennedy, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. I mean, there were violent years, also with some destructions. However, you know, remember,
You as an immigrant, you were looking...
it was a decade of anthropological, sociological revolution, really.
Yeah.
America changed, I think, for the better. You know, before the 60s, really, how many people went to college? And after the 60s, well, you know...
Yeah, things began. So we came
and this
here...
certainly helped a lot also the Italian Americans, certainly.
The prestige of the name of the Italian American improved.
That was a period of, as I said, profound changes. Italy changed, yes, too, but in the United States too. I remember that reading that during the Johnson years, that in America we were opening one college per week. Remember this?
Yeah, that was after World War II.
Yeah.
Did this affect you, your American dream, in a sense? Because you are so positive that even though in the book you do present all the turmoil around you and around your family, in fact, your family was step by step improving because he had to, and all the way to go, right?
I sent the book several times. God bless America, and what a country.
What a country.
Yes, it was. And I still believe in that. If in this country you have the will, the desire, a little bit burning desire to do something, yes, you can find obstacles, but you can overcome every obstacles, as we did. It was not easy.
Yeah, but your family came penniless, you can say that. But yet, your family had some values which come from Italy.
I'm happy that you are putting in this context. I say that here we were, okay, without car, without
money,
without anything,
without knowing the language,
without any money, okay, and I say. And still we never felt we were poor. And I say, poverty is also, and I underline also, because I don't want to be misunderstood over here, poverty is also a psychological dimension. Because what happens that when you start to, a lot of times when you feel poor, you abandon yourself. You give up. Okay? And that is a lot of times what does not happen with the immigrants. The immigrants come be determined.
Yeah, but
they
your
want to
family
change
specifically had the family unity, you had religious faith, work ethics, which I think these are qualities that unfortunately not everybody has. And even though you were struggling, you kept together and you were happy to be together. You were happy to find work and help one another. Even your book now, it says here, the story of my people. You could have said the story of my life. Instead, you are still keeping that mentality of the family being together. And I think that's wealth. That's good that you cannot throw it away.
Yeah, somebody in one of the book reviews mentioned these three themes.
Oh, yeah?
Family, work, and religion, and certainly their syndrome. We could not have done what we did if the family did not work together. I use several metaphors in the book, and when I talk about the family, I talk about the beehive. And I say my mother was the queen, certainly, of this beehive. because everyone brought something home. And so even my brothers that were 14 years old, 15 years old, and they worked in a supermarket stocking food at the end of the week,
Your brothers, I imagine,
they contributed to the...
went to day school, but they also worked on weekends.
Yes,
Everybody
yes.
helped.
Yeah, listen. As I said, it was not easy,
But you did it.
not impossible.
Everybody went to school.
Even my brother Nino, even when he was going to dental school at New York University, he started to work on Friday night, worked also the Saturday and the Sunday in a pharmacy in the Bronx.
Well, I imagine you all went to graduate school and finished school, but because you did not have much money, your parents did not have money, you had to provide for your own means, right? Your own expenses, school expenses.
Well, I was, we were fortunate that we had the City College in those years, and I blessed the day that I was directed to City College because we were able to get practically free education, and used to be the Harvard of the poor people, and unquestionably, it was a tremendous institution.
You called
very well
the escalator to social mobility.
Well, it's
for the immigrants. It was a great thing.
You remember very well when we went there, most of the students were working in part-time or full-time. Most of them came from blue-collar workers. They were children of immigrants or immigrants themselves.
They still do today.
And some of them were from Europe, displaced during the war. But they were strongly motivated. And as you remember those years, the City College had the highest percentage of students continuing for PhDs. So, yes, we must be proud of that institution.
And you, after college, you went to Rutgers?
I was, and for that I say again, God bless America, because
You learned a profession.
I received a fellowship, a federal fellowship for 3 years, which was called, NDA. That allowed me to quit my job. Vito, I could not believe it, that I was getting paid to study. I was questioning.
In
How is
Italy,
that
this
possible?
would not be.
I said, how is that possible? They pay me. And I can tell you this, that if a day went by and I had not worked at the desk, I swear to God, I felt guilty.
Because they were paying you.
Because they were paying me to study, okay? But again...
so you finished the Ph.D. in Italian literature?
Italian literature at Rutgers, and
your first job was?
Where I am now.
So
where I've been for 46 years.
But you have had many successes over
University
there.
has been... in fact, when I was looking for a job then, there were several opportunities, but I really wanted to go to Stony Brook.
Really?
This university, very young. I was young, very young, and hopefully that I could grow with the university.
So you did,
and fortunately, that's what happened. We grew, and most of the faculty I found there was a young faculty, and institution and faculty grew together. And today, as you know,
And you instituted the Center for Italian American Studies, or Italian Studies.
Yep. I had this idea because the university certainly was not interested, probably would not give the funds to organize culture event that could also meet the needs and curiosity of the community. And as you know, in Nassau and Suffolk County, the Italian Americans constitute the largest ethnic group. And so I launched this idea of creating a Center for Italian Studies to build a bridge, a culture bridge, between the university and the community.
And the Alfonso Amado Chair?
Well, then, as the center group with its activities and the support from the community, we launched the idea of creating an endowment to raise $1.5 million to create an endowed chair. And we were, some people were skeptical that we were going to do it.
Right.
In fact, some people said, well, Italians don't give money. So we proved them wrong.
Really?
So we raised, we made a plan, a 5-year plan. I learned a lot in fundraising. It was not my field, but I learned that some people would like to give you the money, but in pledge.
Installment.
And so installment, 4-year, 5-year for fiscal reasons.
So you were successful.
And so we made this plan, a 5-year plan. And within 5 years, we raised $1.5 million. It was what is important. This made history in the community. And so the Italian-American community was very proud of the fact that we were able to raise the money. But also we made history on the campus.
Also,
because it was the first handout chair in the College of Arts and Science at Brooklyn University. Now there are several. But
you were the first.
The chair in Italian-American studies was the first. So I must say that we were proud of this.
Talk very briefly about the program. You take students to Italy every year. And you have been doing this for the last 30 years.
Well, we started the program in 1980.
How many students come?
It depends. We have reached up to 98 students. This year we have fewer because I must say that probably some parents are concerned about traveling. So I would say that in all of these years, I brought to Italy close to about 3,000 students.
And you went there every year?
Every year. I didn't skip a single year.
I want to go back to college education, the city college.
Yeah.
Of course, you graduated in literature, but there was a social aspect, a social life, which became very important, I guess, in your life, my life, and let's talk about that period.
When I went to City College, actually, the few times that I went to City College was before I enrolled in City College. I went with my cousin who was already a student there, and he was very active.
Your first time you got out?
In Italian club. He was very active in Italian club, so I didn't have money. So on Friday night, he says, let's go out. It didn't cost anything because we were going to the club at City College.
The first time you went out since you had arrived from Italy.
Yeah, and it was, for me, it was something incredible because I met other young people who had arrived from Italy recently, and therefore I could speak freely. But I started to get to breathe the air of the college, and look around.
So maybe I could
my
come
God,
here.
I said, this is okay. And I was motivated, certainly. So when I went to work, even though I did my best to produce, because I had also a very good boss, very sensitive to me, but I knew that was just temporary. I was not going to do that for the rest of my life. My mind was a City College.
The college opened your eyes.
Yes, I had met quite a few people, including you.
How long did it take before you actually applied?
3 years.
3 years. So you applied and you were accepted.
Applied and I was accepted as a non-matricular student.
And you felt good.
I felt very good, so I continued to work, went to school at night. And then when I became matriculate, I went during the day and I changed the job. And I went to work with a friend of ours, Nino Piscitello, and this working with the computers.
IBM.
In 1964, working on computers at night.
It was IBM computer.
From 10 o'clock at night to 8 in the morning.
Okay, in college you became president of the Italian club. Did that help you?
Well, it was. I was president of the Italian club, but you were president of the student government. So we worked actually together. This was, I learned a lot.
Well, this was the period we met, basically.
Vito, I learned a lot. It was that experience in the Italian club that I carried with me for the rest of my life.
In fact,
I don't think I would have been able to create the Center for Italian Studies at Storybrooke
if you had not.
if I didn't have that experience as president of the Italian Club at City College, where I learned, as I said, many things. Okay.
Yeah, that was for us the first.
Yeah, but I also how to interact, how the system worked. You know.
Yeah.
I learned this at the.
What were you doing in college? Just tell about the pizza and the spaghetti parties.
Well, it's we were now in the middle of the 60s, actually. You know, the social barriers were just breaking, and we had, scusa, you know, excuse me. Social barriers were breaking, and we were trying to attract to our activities as many students as possible. And we created a lot of activities that people liked. One was the pizza party. Now, I remember that in 1963-64, pizza did not replace the hot dog yet as the most popular fast food in America. But the smell of pizza in the Finley Center, in the student center over there, was traveling through the halls, and people want to know what heck we were doing over there.
So you became very popular.
And became a very popular event, okay? And then the spaghetti party too. We were very creative.
Yeah, talk about creativity. Tell me a little about the Italian Coca-Cola.
Well, it's we had also a dean of students who was very tolerant, Dr. Farmer. God bless her, wherever she is. She appreciated our work, but also she appreciated our dynamism, you know, and she would come to every activity. It was not, it was forbidden alcohol, so we, oh man, we created that filled up with the homemade wine.
The what?
The bottles of Coke, and then we would bring over them and pass around and say, would you like to taste some Italian Coke? And I remember Dr. Fanny, she would drink. She says, wow, it's good, this Italian Coke. And so, and sometimes we did the same thing with beer. We would put in the bottles of ginger ale. So it, yeah, probably we found the pleasure in doing also, we might look so silly things, but it was sometimes just to be creative or to, and then a lot of times, as you know very well, after the club we went out.
I have to say, it was Dr. Farmer that helped me or convinced me that I should run for president of the student government.
Well, that was.
That was also
the results. I mean, we're very happy, very pleased, because there were not too many Italian American students that, if we wanted, we voted by ethnic lines, you never would have been elected. I think that the popularity of the activities that we were organizing, and also, you know, students also respected a little bit your vision. I remember when you met the candidate, you know, and the students were attracted, Jewish students, even Puerto Rican students that were coming to the club.
To the Italian club.
Yeah, to the Italian club.
So it was an international club.
So yeah, we had, as I said, broken those barriers, and we were at the very beginning of doing that. And I must say that, and I'm proud to say that we were the pioneers in breaking those things. So your election to president of the student government, on one hand, was a little bit surprising. On the other hand, it was not. Because you could already breathe this. It was in the air, this big change, you know.
But also, I had a very good
no question,
assistant.
your wife did, at that time was not your wife, but she was really unbelievable in an organizer even today. So, but yes.
Even today, she's organizing.
She still has that. yeah.
Uh-huh.
But you know,
But those were years
talking-
of political
thinking-
activities in City
thinking
College.
about those years and those students that we met and where they've gone. You know, you mentioned my family, but it's not unique.
No.
When you think about those students that our friends, many years later, when my daughter got a job as assistant district attorney, and I took to one of our friends, who was then a chief judge
of New York State.
New York State in Brooklyn, and went to see him, and while we were talking, we went towards the window looking towards Manhattan, Harlem,
Uh-huh.
and I said, I don't know if I can use his name over here, if it's okay.
Maybe not.
I said, do you remember when we
We're poor.
were in City College, you know, lost souls over there? And I said, did you ever think that one day you were going to be the chief judge of this court?
Yeah, let's talk about the immigration, because you do talk about the immigration. What is the immigration for you? Why?
Vito, it's
A contribution.
millions of people do it, especially today. You know, it's a global phenomenon. I mean, millions migrate, okay? But when you migrate, there is the issue of uprooting. We have, you know, it's, and that's not easy for everybody. For some people, it can be traumatic, that uprooting. Now, I mentioned
Uprooting?
uprooting.
Oh, uprooting. Okay.
And for my father, certainly the uprooting at his age
Wasn't that?
was traumatic, really. For my sister, 4 years old, it's like plants, you know.
Yeah.
And when they are so tiny, it's very easy. And then to transplant, well, you know, when you transplant, it depends. An old tree to transplant is very difficult, you know, very well.
But today,
But
you
also-
know, it's a big problem. Never mind the European. Here in America, some immigrants who come here, in a sense, as we came, without money, without education, without anything really, not even the language. Today, they are not received as people who contribute, but rather people who are using the system. Is it proper? Is it fair?
Vito, there are, now, you know, it's difficult to go into politics over here, but when these issues come in the political arena, they are charged with a lot of dimensions, and people try to exploit it, also the issues, because they know that on the other side there are a percentage of the population that is receptive, okay? And but if you make people reason, and then you find out that this nation, for example, could not really survive without the presence of these millions of immigrants.
Only on education, how important is education especially for the new people who come to this country?
I would not be sitting here today if it were not for education, okay? And I say this, I've said this for many occasions. If I may talk about, just briefly about this, there was a proposal to raise tuition for SUNY in the last budget. And I was at the meeting with some very important people, a meeting. And I said, I spoke against the fact of raising tuition. I said, if it were not for a free public institutions, folks, I would not be sitting here today with you. I said, you know, a nation cannot claim of being democratic if it has not a democratic education system, because it's the education that opens the doors to people. And
Mario, we have reached the end of our program. So